Okay, so looks like we're back. Okay, so apologies for the mic issue. Hopefully we're sounding a bit better now. I think I was connected to the wrong mic, so there's a bit more of an echo previously. But let me know if it sounds better. I mean, there is a natural echo in the room, but yeah, the mic quality was sounding off. Sounds good. Appreciate it, LFTJ. Appreciate it, my man. Okay, so there were some requests for HK50, JP225, and UK100. So we'll go through a bunch of indices and we'll discuss those markets. And then, of course, we'll go through some FX currency pairs as well. Sounds better. Okay, thanks. Good. Thank you for letting me know, guys. But yeah, there is a natural echo in the room, but I think at that point I was connected to the wrong mic, so it sounded weird. But yeah, guys, thanks for letting me know. Anyway, let's get back to it. So I'll start with HK50. We'll go through JP225 and UK100 as well. And of course, any other requests, drop it in the chat and we'll be happy to take a look. I don't have HK50 on the watch list, not a market which I do look at a lot, but let's see what's going on. And again, of course, be careful. Even with a market like this, we will still probably see some type of noise, some type of um, reaction to the Fed interest rate later, because of course it's the world reserve currency. All markets are going to be affected. So I don't think you're safe just because you're trading a market which is quite far away or quite removed from the US market. In actuality, nothing really is. But anyway, we'll discuss the price action and the technicals. Okay, so let me just get familiar with this. Well, still looking, actually, okay, so still looking pretty bullish recently. Momentum's picked up, but we are slightly exhausted. The last bullish leg was quite corrective and still failed to make new highs. That is a bit of a worry there. Doesn't necessarily mean we're about to reverse. It means potentially we could be going for a bit of a counter trend or maybe a bit of a consolidation before we find some more buying pressure to actually continue the trend. So what that means is I want to be operating at the extremes. So at these lows here is where I would see opportunity, because this last leg tells me that I shouldn't be so aggressive with my buying opportunities because the last leg failed to make new highs. So because of that, I would want to get involved around these lows here. Not necessarily to try and, again, catch the next swing back to new highs, but at least to catch a bounce here. That could take us back to maybe the middle of the range. That could be a nice swing idea, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, HK50, I would be bullish on still. Momentum is still overly to the upside, but we are getting some warning signs that momentum is slowing. So I would primarily focus on buying as low as possible. I know you said you're in a long position already, but I'll just be careful about how far of a move you're looking. If I was long here, I'll be quite cautious because I know there is room for us to continue lower should price want to. So I would suggest this is a very crucial area to keep an eye on. Your price could very well do something like this to continue lower. So it depends how long you're holding a trade, because again, with any trading idea, it just depends on the narrative of how far you're looking to hold that trade. And if you're looking for a big swing trade, I don't think that's the best place. If you're just looking for a bit of momentum, sure, we have seen a nice shift in momentum here, strong bullish engulfing candle. Looks like support there has held very well over the past few hours. So there is a likelihood for us to see some higher prices, but I just wouldn't be looking for anything that will last more than a couple of days, really. If I'm looking for that, I want to be at this key level as low as possible, that has a better chance of lasting a few more days. So yeah, I would be bullish on this market. Just I'll wait for maybe 25K. Nice big psychological level, especially if you can spike through that for a nice wick. Always a nice extra added confirmation to a trade. And yeah, I think that's a safe place for a bounce. And that way, you're also not holding into the news as well. You know, you can let the news do its thing, and then afterwards, if we can come back and test support, smart play for a buy. In terms of the Japanese index, again, we'll start on the higher time frame, just to look at the bigger play. Everything is still pretty bullish. This is the analysis from last time. Excuse me. I had a look at the market, which I think was back in early November. So yeah, the trend is still very much up. We have slowed down as well. So prior to that, momentum was very, very aggressive. We're seeing price rip through highs, really big candles, very steep trend. Now we've gone through a bit more of a prolonged pullback. If you look at the history here, since this low pretty much, price hasn't really seen a pullback that's lasted this long. So that's a big hint to say, okay, we're starting to slow down. Yes, we're still bullish, but don't be so confident that we're just going to push back to highs and rip through them in the same manner as we have been doing. Yes, I'd still be bullish, but I'd be a bit more cautious with the location of which I buy from and how far I look to try and push that trade. So let me just clean up the chart. So I would be pretty bullish here on the Japanese index. If I was to drop a bit more intraday, 4-hour chart, yeah, I would be a bit worried in this location. This is more kind of supply resistance, not the best place to be looking to take a swing long position. If I was looking to buy within here, I would probably suggest if we can creep back into this low, potentially even wick through that. There's a nice demand zone sitting just below that. I think this is a smart place for a short-term buy. So something like this, and maybe a push back to resistance, then call it a day. You do have a nice uptrend at play here as well. Just looking to try and continue that. There's some logic buying here just for a quick play to resistance, and then probably calling it a day. Because if I'm looking for a swing trade here for the JP225, I'd probably want to position myself more closer. Oh, that's the wrong tool. Closer to these lows here. I would want to be around here. That's why I feel comfortable looking for a swing trade, not only back to this high, but even potentially the high over there as well. If I'm buying here, it's more so in the middle of a range, so I don't want to overstay my welcome. So yeah, I like the buys here for both of those markets you mentioned. It's just I'll wait for price to come a little bit deeper before executing those buys. I'll keep the buy short term as well. I think both of them look like they're tiring. So I wouldn't be so aggressive to try and push the trades too far. Anywho, we'll go through UK 100 and then we'll take a look at, okay, we can go through Aussie yen as well. Yusuf, good morning, my man. I hope you're doing good. I'm having a great day. Thank you for asking. Hope you're doing good as well, and hope you're having a good day as well. And of course, that goes for everyone on the stream. Hope everyone is doing good. Tosh, dollar yen, very bullish. What do you think? Yeah, dollar yen's looking really bullish. We can go into detail for that one, but again, you just have to be a bit careful with what's happening later today. But in terms from a technical perspective, everything's pointing up for dollar yen and pretty much all the yen pairs, which we'll go through shortly. I'll just go through UK 100 quickly, and then I'll discuss some of the yen pairs. And of course, any other requests, drop it down in the chat. We can go through it as well. If you guys are enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like as well. It does really help out the channel and helps out the stream. So if you are enjoying the content, drop a like, does help out. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on any future content, and hit the bell too. Anyway, UK 100, still very much a bullish market, still very much on my watch list as well, still very much looking for a push back to the high here. Again, just being a little bit careful with the news coming out later. I don't want to force anything too early. I do think price is still likely to push back to the all-time highs at 9,900 and possibly a lot further as well. So now it's just about timing entries for this one. I was looking at some buys early in the week at this level here, but we have broken through that. I'm looking to see if we can come a little bit deeper into this demand zone, and that could be an interesting place for a buy as well. Effectively, I just don't want to see price break this low. If price breaks that low, then the narrative of us maintaining higher highs and higher lows collapses. And actually, at that point, the market's probably in a counter trend bearish climate at that point. So as long as we don't break through this low, I'm looking for us to attack the highs here. That is very much the play. So I would like to see us bounce at this zone, reject it. I mean, we are seeing some momentum now, but again, I just wouldn't want to enter before the news anyway, especially when I'm looking for swing plays like this. I'd always rather want to enter after the news if you're looking for a long-term play. Because if you think about it, a lot of people are monitoring these events with a lot more capital than us. A lot of them will be positioning themselves in the market once they understand what's happening and what they understand potentially what happened in the future. So if you're looking for a good swing trade, it makes a lot of sense to be on the right side of the news rather than before the news has happened. So I wait for the news to happen. So let's say tomorrow price is still in a similar area. We tap into demand, reject well. I think this would be a really nice place to look for a long position and then hopefully a swing back to highs. And if I'm wrong and price does break through this area and then eventually breaks through that area, then I'll scrap that bullish bias, potentially become bearish on this one, or just not look to trade it, to be honest. From a bearish perspective, I'm not really interested in sales, to be honest. Even if I drop to like an hourly chart, I mean, yes, we are making lower lows and lower highs. Potentially still coming back into resistance here. Price could reject this area and see some downside maybe this afternoon. But again, I wouldn't be looking for any long-term play. This is still very strictly short-term. So if you do have a bearish bias, I'll be looking at short-term plays, be in and out the market. Momentum, on the high time frames is pointing up, and recently too. So I wouldn't want to go against that for too long. So sure, if we can respect resistance and maintain these lower highs, which we have been doing in fairness quite well. So you can see price respect to the high there, respect to the high there, respect to the high there as well. If we can maintain that, there's a good chance for another move down. But in terms of the big play, which is where my interest is, I'm very much looking at a swing all the way back to 99, 100, and probably beyond that as well. We'll take a look at some of the indices now. I mean, not indices, the yen pairs, Aussie and dollar yen, we'll go through. Yusuf, thoughts on Euro and GU? Of course, we can take a look at that as well. Euro pound is very similar to UK 100. Well, yeah, you got the pound overlapping there. Euro pound I haven't actually really been focused on too much. I haven't really been looking too much at Euro pound. It's not my favorite pair. I try to keep it on a minimal because it's not my best performing pair either. So because of that, I try not to trade it too often. But of course, if there's a good opportunity, I wouldn't pass it up. A good opportunity is still a good opportunity. But yeah, I just haven't been keeping up to date really too much with Euro pound, but we can take a look at that in a second. I just want to go for a couple of yen pairs. So I mentioned dollar yen earlier. We'll go through Euro and pound as well. I mentioned dollar yen. There it is. I mentioned dollar yen earlier. Still looking very bullish. I think, again, intraday buys make a lot of sense here. We've broken through this counter trend line very well. Momentum's really picked up. You can see buyers are very much in control of the market right now. We still do have highs above our heads, which I do still expect dollar yen to go and take out. Even the high back over here, which is back in 2024, we had that massive crash. I do think price is likely to go and push towards those areas as well. So onwards and upwards, especially from a high time frame perspective. So as we drop to the lower time frames, it's just about, position ourselves to take advantage of that high time frame bias as much as we can. Refining risk, making sure that if we're right big, and if we're small, we're small. And effectively, I like what price is doing here because we had a really explosive move, and now it looks to me that we're forming this flag pattern, which if I connect the highs here and the lows, effectively I'm looking for another drive back into the lows here, a rejection, and then a continuation. There's a lot of momentum in the market here. I wouldn't really be looking for like a deep retracement. If we have one, we'll discuss that. It doesn't necessarily mean that the move is not going to happen. It's just that if this momentum is going to continue, I expect it to continue pretty quickly. And then, of course, targets naturally back to this high at the very least, but more so towards this high here. Then, of course, we still do have some daily and weekly levels, which we're still looking for price to go run towards. So everything is pointing up for dollar yen, looking for buying opportunities, just being patient with entries and just being wary of what's happening later this afternoon. Again, if you are looking for that bigger swing trade, probably best to wait after the news to happen and then look for pullbacks afterwards. But yeah, very, very interesting opportunity there on dollar yen. Aussie yen looking pretty bullish as well, and some significant price action has been happening with Aussie yen, because you can see prices breaking through some major resistance here, and it is doing it in pretty aggressive fashion. It's not like a breakout which looks half-hearted. It looks like a breakout that looks like a real deal. I'll still probably wait for this week candle to close, but momentum's picking up very well, and perhaps we are going to push back to highs here. I mean, if you look at pound yen, we've already made that move. You know, pound yen has gone and taken out the highs here. Euro yen did that move a long time ago. We've already taken out the highs there from time. Swiss yen's done that donkeys ago. Back over here, we've already taken out that high. Dollar yen, not too far away, which we just mentioned. The high is still very much in reach and distance. Aussie yen, that high from 24, excuse me, from 24, looks like price is attracted towards that area. CAD yen, again, quite far away. We are breaking through some major structure here as well. New Zealand yen, probably the furthest away, actually. So I'm probably not going to be too concerned about that high just yet. More concerned about reaching that next level at 92. So yeah, higher time frames look super, super bullish for the yen pairs. And of course, the yen basket looks like it's pushing towards that corresponding low, which is down here. It's still got a bit of a distance to go as well. So it looks to me that this trend for the yen pairs still has distance to run. Momentum still with the sellers of the yen. So these yen crosses are still likely to continue. Aussie yen, I'll still bet a continuation as well. It's just about timing these pullbacks and finding good entries within those pullbacks. So because of the heights we've achieved here, the next area that actually looks significant enough for a pullback and actually looking to play some trades, I would say it would be these two areas here. We'll see how price gets there and how we react, of course, but those would be the first areas which would look interesting to me. Of course, if we keep pushing, let's say if we break out again, then potentially this could be an interesting area, but we'll see. We can speak of that on that as things continue. But yeah, very bullish on Aussie yen, very bullish on dollar yen, more upside. And again, we've got the backing of the higher time frames as well. So definitely opportunities which we can try and push. Now, in terms of Euro USD and pound, again, very interesting markets to keep an eye on in the next kind of 24 hours with all that's going on. But we have been in a bit of a bearish trend for a while, and it looks like potentially that is looking to end. We've had price fail to create a lower low in this event. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're guaranteed to push up. Of course, nothing's guaranteed. But effectively, we are still struggling to break highs well too. So it's not like we've broken aggressively like what we've seen with some of the yen pairs. It's been a slight break of structure, which is always a little bit awkward. So I'm being a bit more cautious with Euro USD, and of course, leading up to the news anyway, naturally going to be cautious too. In terms of intraday, like 15-minute chart, again, because the market's really flat, I do still like the highs. Early in the week, we did talk about a run back to the highs here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But the pattern did repeat over here. Price pushed back into major resistance, a nice rejection, a nice sell from earlier this morning London session. Now, what would I be looking to do here? Potentially take some longs off the low, just equally looking to play both sides, because it's just is a very choppy market structure. So I don't want to be positioned in the middle of this. This is where all the noises and the likelihood of you getting stopped out and taking some really rubbish trades is very, very high. I want to be at the extreme. So I want to be shorting at the highs here or buying at the lows here. So if I'm looking for Euro USD, especially for a short-term play, especially for a trade which I can be out before the interest rates later, it would be another drive back into the low and looking for another bounce towards the mean. So if I was to get a fib out, you can mark the mean using the 50% of the fib. draw like a line there. That could be your target for the trade or a place to bank some partials, up to you. But you can see here as well, we came back into the low, spiked through it again, had a nice recovery. You can even say we did it with this low here, there too. So we're not really seeing any commanding momentum here with euro in either direction. Therefore, the best thing to do is look to buy low as possible and sell high as possible. And you can treat the 50% of that range as your mean and as potentially a target to either manage the trade or even exit altogether. So yeah, Euro USD, I'll look at the lows here. Had a successful rejection earlier this morning. Pound USD, I'll treat it in the same way. You can see very similar market structure, very choppy as well. Very choppy again. Anywhere in the middle here is where you don't want to be operating. You don't want to be placing trades here. Not that you won't win a trade. Again, you just want to trade where there's probability that there's a reaction going to happen in your favor. And when conditions are choppy like this, at the lows where you want to be positioned or at the highs here. Not to say that price can't sell off here. It can do whatever it likes. It's just that I'll be a lot more confident in my position if I'm trading off this high or off that low. So again, for pound USD as well, I'll look to see what we can do at the low here. Potentially price can stab through this, react well, and that could be a smart place for a buy. Equally so, if you look at pound USD on the higher time frames, we do have some momentum to the upside here. So there is some logic behind looking to attack the longs and looking to try and fade the moves that price makes towards support, because this effectively could be a bit of a flag pattern, impulse correction, impulse. So there is some room to the upside, but again, I wouldn't necessarily be looking to try and look for the home run, at least for today anyway. So yeah, pound USD, euro, similar trades, of course, similar markets. They're going to give you similar opportunities. They both look kind of equally as good as each other. Maybe pound's a little bit better because we've got a bit more momentum on our left there. So the buys make a bit more sense, but again, they're probably likely both to fail or both to work. But yeah, intraday, that's kind of where I'd be looking to position myself. So hopefully that made some sense there, Yusuf, for euro and G on the 15. We can take a look at euro pound. What's up, Sculpin, man? Hope you're doing good. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Yoshi, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Welcome. Hope you're doing good as well. Welcome to the stream. Andrea, pound USD. Yes, I'll take a look at that on a slightly higher time frame, actually. CS, my man, I hope you're doing good. Welcome to the stream. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Of course, any other pairs you're looking at or anything you want to discuss, you can put it in the chat. And of course, we can have a look-see or a bit of a chat about it. But it's an interesting day ahead, as I mentioned. I have marked on the chart the last change in policy from the Fed. This is when they started to cut rates back in actually the 17th of September. It should be the 17th or the 16th. Let me change that. 17th, 2 o'clock. There we go. Let's get the VWAP to that level there as well. And rates are expected to drop again today. Of course, that could be true or could not be true. So you never want to take it as gospel, but there's a good likelihood that rates are expected to drop. So the policy of cutting from the Fed is still likely to continue. And since that's happened, we have been in a predominant downtrend. So taking that information into what we see on the chart here, potentially, if we do see another Fed cut, as long as nothing crazy is said in the press conference afterwards, I think there's probably a good likelihood that we could see a bit of a drop over the next 2-3 days, potentially the next week, just regarding the news alone. If we don't, and price does end up breaking structure and starting to print some higher highs, especially get above the VWAP with some strong momentum, that could be a bit of a sign that things are changing. USD is becoming a lot more weaker, and we could be seeing a push back to the prior high as well. So we're kind of a bit in a limbo right now. Is this bearish trend likely to continue? It does look quite tired, but it's still maintaining resistance. And like I said, if the Fed continue doing what they're doing and nothing said crazy in the press conference that says otherwise, then there's a good chance that this trend is still likely to continue. And we're probably going to come back to these lows here. Should something else happen, and and the narrative is very bearish on the dollar. Again, looking for a break of structure to the upside and then pullbacks all the way back to highs at 1.19, maybe 1.195. So for euro dollar, that's kind of what I'm looking at. And pound, pretty much the exact same situation as well, which is, have I marked on the chart? Yes, I have. So again, that's at the 16th. Let me change it to the 17th. There we go. Let's get the V up to the 17th as well. So again, you can see the same situation as has happened here for pound. Of course, similar markets do the same thing there too. But again, they have been trending down since the last change in policy, since they have started cutting the rates as well. So if the rates do continue to be cut, I do wonder if this trend is still going to have the steam to continue. If things do change and we do see a massive breakout through this resistance, through this trend, then of course that changes the stance there for pound. And I'll be looking for a push back to this high and a push inevitably back to that high there too. So from a swing perspective, again, I would advise to analyze post news, because if you are looking to hold trades for a while, it's always good to be on the right side of the news rather than before the news has happened, because you're acting upon old information or older information. So again, analysis will be a lot more useful tomorrow, depending what we see here. If price does catapult to the upside, especially go and take out some highs to our left, I'll be very bullish looking for pullbacks. If we do drop very aggressively, then looking for a correction and some shorts back into that low. Of course, I'm basically just saying both scenarios here, but that's my thinking right now, kind of being a bit neutral. And then tomorrow, hopefully I'll have a more of a concrete bias. Hey, what's up, Bashi? Welcome to the stream, my man. Appreciate the message. If you guys are enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. I do really appreciate it. And of course, share it with your friends and drop any chart recommendations that you're looking at, any trades you're in. I'm interested to find out and see what people are looking at. Bashi, what's your stance today? Because I know you've been tired recently. What's your stance today with the USD side of things? Bullish, bearish, or kind of just waiting for the news to happen? Replay, I'm on dollar CAD sell trade in profit zone. Do you think it's better to leave it or take it? It's always the good question. The thing about being in profit though is you have a bit more room for error, because let's say if you're in a trade and you got major news coming up and prices at your entry, well, that's max kind of uncertainty. Spreads will widen. You could see volatility against you. You might even be in the right direction, but that could happen. So it's always a lot of room for error when price is near around your entry. If you're in healthy profit, and also let's say price is near your target zone, let's say if this is your target and price is like here, well, I probably would take some profit just to pay myself, because worst case scenario, the news comes out against me and this happens, at least I can profit at close to my level, because I'm effectively right on the trade. It hasn't quite hit my target, but it's pushed 60-70% of the way there. So I want to pay myself for that scenario. And if the news goes against me, well, so be it. I'll probably would trail stops to break even at the very least as well. So I still walk away with something. And of course, best case scenario, price rockets in your favor. But when you're in profit, whether news is good or bad for you, you can still walk away with a decent win, just moving your stops to break even, taking some partials and let the market do its thing. There's no right or wrong answer. It all is just managing risk. If you're in profit, your risk is pretty managed, because you can move stops to break even and you'll be well away from danger. So if you're in good profit, normally my thinking is, if I'm in good profit, I would just let the trade do its thing, remove risk, and then let the market do what it wants to do. Maybe it's going to go for me, maybe it's going to go against me, so be it. But risk is managed, which is the key thing. If it's at your entry, that's a different logic. It depends how big your stops are, depends how aggressive you are, and it depends what time frame you're on as well. If you're like on a 5-minute, I would heavily suggest to exit the trade. If you're trading like a 4-hour or like a daily chart, well, you've got a bit more room to play with. Again, it's probably still wise to exit the trade too. But if you've got a bigger stop loss and you can stomach the risk, you can do that too. But of course, understand that things can still go wrong too. But yeah, for dollar CAD, we've been a bit flat recently. Of course, we had that lovely sell from last week, but of course, since that, we have been quite sideways. So I don't really see much opportunity right now. Replay, where's your profit zone? How far are you looking to push the trade? Where's your targets? I'm thinking of take one and leave one. Yeah, I think that's a smart decision as well, because again, that way you're reducing risk too. Taking one off the table means whatever happens, you've profited from that trade. You know, no one can take that away from you. The second trade is there just in case price was to continue your favor. I think that's a smart decision too. Like I said, if you're going to manage your trade because of news, you're thinking primarily because of risk. You don't really know if the news is going to be in your favor or not. You might have an idea that it might be in your favor, but still it might not be. Of course, yeah, nothing's for certain. So you just got to manage the risk. If the risk is managed to a good degree, then you're good. That's my mentality with it. And of course, the only person who can really say if the risk is managed or not to a healthy degree is yourself. So if you believe it is, and taking one position off can definitely help that. I think that's a good way to tackle it. Where was I? Edison, welcome to the stream. Hope you're good. Next streams, you should be ending them if number of you and likes are not matching because you're giving powerful analysis and people ain't appreciating. That's the story of life, my man. Sometimes value content is actually undervalued. But again, I don't control the algorithm. It would be nice if I did, but people who are here, enjoy the content, find it useful, have a good time. I think that's the most important thing. Of course, we're always trying to grow and promote the channel, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. And in terms of doing that, of course, there are things you can do, but you want to make sure that you're not kind of undercutting your viewers as well. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm open to ideas for streams. I'm looking to play with things, maybe stream at different times as well. I'm going to experiment with that, especially throughout next year. Maybe do some more news streams as well. So like for Fed interest rates, NFPs, if they ever come back, CPI potentially in the afternoon. So yeah, I'll experiment with different ideas, stream at different times, different styles as well. So we'll see. Bashi, I think USD neutral as GP not cut. Happy he's fine to hold. We'll see a cut today. The speech, I'm interested in his views for 2026. Yeah, I feel like that's where everyone is waiting for. Finish his job in many, I think, so we could get one more cut. But I'm curious if he's going to hold in March, and then the new guy, Bassett, whatever his name, will do extra cuts to offset. Okay. Yeah, I suppose again that's really the discussion that's going to move the market, isn't it? It's not necessarily about the rates today. It's more so what everyone's expecting of throughout next year. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, of course, I think once you get kind of the post analysis, the Fed conference, then you can analyze that in a bit more detail, and that can help formulate a bias from a fundamental perspective. Absolutely. Yeah, of course, move stop loss to break even. So yeah, if you stop loss to break even, risk is managed. There's not much more. The only other thing you could do is just close the trade, or take more partials. But if you're closing one, stops at break even, yeah, just let the market do its thing. Again, it can still potentially experience slippage. So again, always being aware of the worst case scenario is always going to help you in trading, because that way you're not going to not expect the unexpected. For example, if you do take a trade, stops the break even, and you still get slipped, and you still maybe lose half an hour, at least you're still aware that scenario potentially happening. If it does happen, you're not gonna be too heartbroken, because you're kind of aware of that potentially happening. So that's another risk too, which is why some people just close the trade completely. of course, if that's the case, then nothing can happen really. But again, trading, there's always risk involved. You don't want to completely eliminate risk, because if you do that, you're never going to get anywhere in the markets. You always need to have risk if you want to gain something, but of course, just make sure the risk is managed. That's the only thing you can really do. Forecasting a weaker USD on FMC interest rate, though, not any trade until here, Powell. Good afternoon. Bears out of TJ. I'm bullish in DXY, I'm willing to 80% of my trades. Okay, I kept to the bottom close. Yeah, keep the ones at better price. That makes a lot of sense to me as well. That way you can reduce risk but still be positioned well in the market. If things go well for you, you're away from all the noise. If there is a bit of kind of fluctuation, chances of you getting kind of caught in that less as well. And of course, risk is more managed, so I would agree with that too. But yeah, I feel like, again, with the narrative of the dollar, it's post news really where the juice is, isn't it? Everything right now is kind of just, everyone's kind of waiting to see what will happen. Everyone kind of has some expectations. Maybe it will be met, maybe it won't be. Which is why if you're looking to trade now, I would just keep it very intraday, which is why I've been discussing more intraday setups on today's stream, because any kind of swing idea, I kind of want to discuss a bit more detail tomorrow. So for like the DXY today, and again, of course, even with intraday setups, you might not see the kick needed to actually see them, go and hit targets, because again, the market might get into a bit of a stalemate between now and the news later on this afternoon or this evening. So yeah, intraday DXY, really nice bounce from the zone, nice reaction. I would again expect to drive back to highs there. Whether we see the full kick to actually get there to targets before the news happens, that's a different story. We've seen similar reactions on pound, similar reactions on euro as well. But again, just looking at short-term play before the big event later today. Took my trades in 1.39432 TP 37433 triple lows. Okay, so you're looking for a push. You're looking for a push down here, I suppose. 37433. Oh no, triple lows here. Missed that completely. So yeah, I think that's a logical target as well. I think that's a logical target, sensible as well. So yeah, again, for us to get there, we're going to need that kick. We're going to need that USD weakness to come into play. So yeah, if that is your target, then you can of course just manage risk, because there's still a bit of a way to go to get there. And of course, maybe the news later today. And of course, we've got CAD as well. Don't forget that too. We've got CAD later this afternoon, CAD interest rates. I think they're likely to stay the same, was it? Or are they likely to drop? I can't remember. No, CAD's likely to stay the same as well. So, USD is likely to drop. So you got CAD interest rates and USD interest rates. So it's a very interesting afternoon for anyone trading dollar CAD, I must say. So yeah, if that's the case, yeah, just reduce risk. You can leave a runner, see how far it goes. But yeah, be careful. Be slacking hard on my sleeping routine. I legit need to be somewhere 3 to 4 hours ahead, like the Middle East or something. Yeah, to be fair, I've actually been thinking about that as well. It's actually quite convenient to be positioned there from a trading perspective, because London session, I don't know, London session, let's say you mark that as 7:30, 7 a.m. You can say 8 a.m., but let's say 8 a.m. If London session starts at 8 a.m., then I think if you're like in Dubai, that's probably around 11 or 12. I'm not too sure on the time zone, but 11 or 12. That means you can sleep in pretty well before even London starts. Then you got US. Of course, that will probably go into a bit more like 7, 8 p.m. But again, if you're a bit more of a night owl, that's beautiful for yourself. And of course, you've got the Asian session. But if you don't trade the Asian session, then you're not really too bothered about that. So I think, yeah, actually strategically, position there is actually quite a nice place to be. I mean, in Kigali here, I'm 2 hours ahead, which actually is quite beneficial. I can't lie. So even just 2 hours makes a big difference. But 3, 4, even 5 potentially, that sounds good as well. Made a little personal account now. Room nice. Yeah, I mean, again, you always want to have a personal account, even if it's very, very small. You still want to have a personal account because that's your pot of gold. That's your pot which you want to grow, and that's where I would recommend majority of your profits from funded accounts goes from, because that's your nest egg. Because you can always mess up. The thing about personal accounts is even if you mess up, at the end of the day, no one's going to say, "Yeah, you hit the drawdown limit. Let me take the rest of the money. Go get another account." That's your account which you have full control of. Even if you lose 70%, you still keep the other 30%. Of course, I wouldn't advise losing 70%, but I'm just saying. So the risk of a funding account is that you can make a mistake, you can lose the account, and you have to go repeat the process to get it back again. Which again, they're still very effective tools, but your personal account has got to be your you know your prized possession, because that's something that will be true to yourself, and you can grow as aggressively or as slow as you want. So I'd always recommend to have one, even if it's very, very small, and you're not really looking to make money yet from it. At least have a personal account. Um, like ending the stream manually, boss. What do you mean by that, Innocent? Next streams, you should be ending them if number of you and likes are not matching because you. Okay, so I should end the stream if not enough people are liking. That is some ruthless stuff. I'm not gonna lie, Innocent. That is some ruthless stuff. If you guys are joining the stream, by the way, please be sure to drop a like. It does really help out. And of course, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. My mind went blank for a second there. Yeah, UA 4 hours ahead. Yeah, that would be nice. That'd be it. Because 2 hours is a big difference. It's actually a big difference. Yes, two is still good. Yeah, of course. That's the best way to do it. Just again, you want to compound that personal account. But anyway, guys, we have come to the end of the stream. I do appreciate each and every one of you tuning to the stream and showing some love and dropping some likes, subscribing to the channel. All that does really help. I will be live again tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll probably focus a bit more on swing ideas. Of course, I'll still do intraday if anyone requests intraday. But today's focus was a bit more kind of intraday here now, just because we're waiting for the news later this afternoon, evening, depending where you are. And then, yeah, tomorrow we'll kind of have some setups. I'll hopefully get some nice positions on some USD pairs as well. Some nice swing trades going. We'll discuss that in a lot of detail as always. Again, like I said, I'll probably do like different timings and stuff for streams in the future. So potentially some streams during the US session, potentially some streams during some news events like the Fed later today, or other interest rate decisions potentially. Probably more so just the Fed, really. But yeah, I'll discuss that, probably use some polls and stuff, see when people are available, and happy to check out the stream and stuff. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you tuning in today. Have a great day. Of course, please be safe later today. Best thing to do if you're worried about position, best thing to do, just close the trade and come back again. The anxiety is not really a good thing. The stress is not a good thing. But anyway, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.